Coming up next, your chance to speak to Democratic Party contributor and oil businessman Roger Tamraz, who testified at the campaign fundraising hearings held by the Senate Governmental Affairs Committee earlier this month. Here's a portion of his testimony from that hearing where he describes meeting President Clinton in 1996.
You attended a function at the White House on March the 27th, 1996. Is that correct?
Can you repeat, Chairman?
Beg your pardon?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
March 27, 1996,
yes,
when you, did you have an opportunity to speak to the President about your pipeline at that time?
Yes, I did.
Describe that discussion.
Well, it was just an introduction to the President, and he asked how I was, and I explained that I was on that project, and that most probably the project will be going to overseas workers.
Would be going where?
To overseas. It's going to be a project financed from overseas.
Did he know what you were talking about?
Yes, he knows that I discussed the pipeline with him, yes.
I mean, as of that time, did he know what you were talking about when you brought this information up?
Yes, I assume so.
Did he have a reaction to what you said?
No, he just reacted. He'd like to see jobs coming to Americans.
Okay. Did you ask him to do anything?
I didn't ask specifically. I just said that's what I'm doing.
Did you? What was your reason for bringing it up? What were you hoping for?
Well, I was introduced to the President, and that's what you discuss, what you do.
You say you didn't ask specifically. Did you ask in a more general way for his assistance?
No, I said if somebody wants to hear me out, I'm available.
All right. And did you have a chance to talk to Mr. McClarty on that same evening?
Yes.
Well, what was your discussion with him?
Again, we were discussing oil in general.
Oil in general?
Yes.
Did you discuss your pipeline proposal?
I may have. I don't recall specifically.
Was this before or after you discussed it with the President?
I'm not sure if it was before or after.
And you don't know whether or not you discussed your pipeline idea with Mr. McClarty?
No, I said I know I have discussed it.
With Mr. McClarty?
Yes.
And what was the nature of that conversation?
It was just a general conversation of what I'm doing.
Okay. Did Mr. McClarty say that they would be back in touch with you?
Not at this event. It was at the next event which I heard that.
The next event being a coffee on April the 1st that you attended. Is that correct?
Yes.
At the White House?
Yes, sir.
You discussed it then again with Mr. McClarty. Is that correct?
Yes, for about 30 seconds before we sat down.
Roger Tamraz, how has your life changed since that testimony was given?
Well, I'm a bit better known in the street. People stop me and say hello. We like what you said.
How much did you think about what you were going to say?
I did not, frankly, because it was my first experience, and I thought I was going in front of judges, and I was trying to do my best, so I didn't really prepare much. I didn't know what type of questions I was expecting.
We're going to go to the phones right away because a lot of people want to talk to you. Chapel Hill, North Carolina, what's your question, please?
Good morning, Mr. Lamb.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Tamraz.
Good morning, sir.
I'm a first-time caller, and I simply want to say to Mr. Tamraz that I admired his stand in front of Congress, and I would like to ask him this question. If he weren't a Lebanese American, if, for example, he were one of the many Jewish American millionaires from Miami, would he have appeared, would he have been summoned to appear in front of the Senate committee?
Thanks, caller.
Yes, certainly. I don't think there's any racial slant here. I believe in the system. I believe in our justice. I think what happened is that the issue that took place in '95, some Democrats in '97 were throwing banana peels at each other and brought it up. It was an internal democratic fight, and it's normal that I should appear and answer the question, and I'm very happy I did.
What town do you live in now?
I live in New York.
Mount Clemens, Michigan, you're next.
Good morning, Mr. Tamraz. I'd like to ask a question. One thing I don't understand is the Republicans don't want to dig too far back in the previous oil influences. For instance, I read that during Watergate that I believe it was Bush's friend who owned Pennzoil funneled money through South America, and they found it in a paper bag in the Creep Committee. Buckley boys have just been on C-SPAN quite a bit. I think William Buckley's family is associated with the oil. And as far as the royal family, I read that they own most of Shell.
How about a question for Mr. Tamraz, caller? How about a question for our guest?
Pardon me?
You have a question for our guest, please.
The question is, someone should write a book and show how much the oil influence is in the Republican Party.
Thank you.
Well, again, you know, these are my peers. I'm part of the oil industry, and I think that to have access doesn't mean you have influence. And I think this is our way of having access, but what we get against it, I think, is highly regulated by the person in front of us, and I haven't seen any misdeeds either from the oil industry or from someone else.
Haymarket, Virginia. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning. Mr. Tamraz, I believe the question I have is two-part. In the hearings, I believe that I heard you say that you had tried to gain access to both the Reagan and Bush administrations, and that they did not allow you in based on whatever. That doesn't matter, but I thought that you made it very clear that you were not allowed to gain access to either of those administrations.
Hold on right there. Just hold on right there. Is that true?
No, partly. I mean, I tried to gain access to the Reagan administration, and there was a reaction by the chairman of the Republican committee asking the White House to give me a committee position. They came back and asked for more information. I was too busy. And the reason of the access is basically I feel I have some inputs to give to this country concerning foreign policy and especially energy policy.
Second question, sir.
Well, I'd like to briefly comment on that. You have a right to do that, Mr. Tamraz, and no one would deny you that right. The problem that we have as American citizens is this White House seems to want money to change policy. The second thing, in regards to, I've understood that you've also given money to senators, etc. Not to that extent, nor would you expect a senator to really be able to do anything on oil policy. Thank you, and I'll hang up. Listen to your answer.
Yes, I have given to senators, which had nothing to do to oil policy, because, as I said, I wanted to be a player among the Democratic committee and others, and you just have to have friends. And having friends in that system is giving favors.
How big is your business today?